Hi,
Hi,
Kate.
Katie.
Who have you got here? I can't remember who's out of the cage.
Rio is out of the cage and Bing Bong is in the cage. I have two separate cameras going, so we're going to switch back and forth between them. But these two have been cage mates for about 3 weeks now.
Mhm.
And Rio on my shoulder is an absolute sweetheart and likes as much attention as possible. So he gets to come out of the cage with me for camera time.
He looks very contented with his crest kind of a little ways up, but fairly relaxed. That's one
Yeah,
of the lovely things about cockatiels. They have that crest that's like your semaphore of their emotions.
yeah. Can we show Bing Bong quickly, Megan, just so that people know who I'm talking about? Bing Bong is
Oh,
taking a nap right now.
oh, he's so cute.
Yes.
His little white face.
So,
So you said that these two have been cage mates for 3 weeks now.
yes. So Rio here with me came from a family surrender in Sonoma, and he hadn't ever shared a cage before. So he's still learning about that, and he's getting much better about sharing toys and food and things like that. Um, but Bing Bong is extremely patient, so Mickaboo thought that they would be good cage mates, and they so far have been really good. They're not bonded because they've only spent a few weeks together, but they are doing well together.
Mm-hmm. And that's actually a good point for our audience that cockatiels are innately flock animals, and they need buddies. And we do recommend, and I believe require, that they be adopted in groups, at least a pair, unless you already have a single bird at home who needs a new companion.
Yeah, so I think these two would do well together if they were adopted together. They call for each other when they're apart and they sleep together. If Rio was going to be adopted by himself, he would need to go to a family that already has a very patient cockatiel because he is still learning his bird manner since he hasn't shared a cage for very long.
Ah, how old, do you know how old Rio is? He's learning manners right now?
Rio is 5 years old and Bing Bong is estimated to be 5 years old. So they're both
Okay.
about the same age.
And fairly young for cockatiels.
Yes, they can live 20 to 30 years. So
Mm-hmm.
these guys are still in their baby, not they're not babies, but they're definitely on the younger side.
Young. Mm-hmm. What do they eat?
Rio's previous foster mom did a really good job of converting him over from a seed diet, so he's a little bit chubbier than he should be. Um, and they're both eating Harrison's and Nutrient cakes, which is Nutrient cakes are a mixture of pellets and seeds into a cake form. So they kind of have to pick through and eat a little bit of everything, and they really like those. The Harrison's
Mm,
pellets they will eat, but they really like the Nutrient cakes.
yeah. And in the wild, I think cockatiels do eat some seed as like a normal part of their wild diet. So it
Yes.
makes sense that they like that food that has some. How did Rio and Bing Bong come into Mickaboo? And if you want to take that one now and the other one, talk about Bing Bong when we show him a little bit later, then we could do that.
So Rio was surrendered by his family. They moved and just weren't able to take him, unfortunately, because he's such a sweet little guy. So I know that he um, must have been well loved because he really he's
Mhm.
he's very very friendly. And Bing Bong came from the Sonoma shelter, and we don't know as much about his background because of that.
I see. We do have a question about Rio of what kind of bird manners is he learning? And
Um,
especially now that we've talked about how nice he is with people.
Yeah, so he's really good with people. He likes to play really rough with his toys, and he doesn't like to be interrupted. So he he's pretty loud when he gets attached to a certain toy. And if fingers or other birds or anyone comes near that toy while he's playing with it, he hasn't bitten Rio hasn't bitten Bing Bong yet, but he will kind of like open his beak and be like, "Get away from me! I don't want you here." So he definitely can show what he wants or doesn't want to happen. And for that reason, also, I don't know that I'd recommend Rio to go to a family with kids, even though he is really friendly, just because of his very enthusiastic playing. I wouldn't want little fingers to get in the way of that.
Got it. Couple more audience questions of, are cockatiels always this calm and quiet?
No, they're not. These two are actually surprisingly quiet. I live on a pretty busy street and there's sirens and all sorts of noises, and these two are really quiet. They do, if they know I'm home but they can't see me, I'm in another room or something, they will screech for me to come and say hi to them, which I'm trying to work on coming into the room when they're being quiet and not when they're screeching. But they can be loud. They're not as loud as conures. I live in an apartment, and so far no one's complained. But they are quieter than average, but they can definitely be noisy when they want to be.
Got it. Another question. Do you recommend a male partner for a single female cockatiel? And I think that doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I think as long as their personalities get along together and you're being proactive about, like if they start doing nesting activities or any of the other hormonal behaviors, like looking for places to hide or egg laying or anything, you would need to give them more darkness time and take away anything that they can make a nest with, and obviously take away or do something about the eggs, not let them hatch.
That makes sense. And also, even if you have a same-sex couple, if you start seeing hormonal behaviors, you do want to manage that, because wild parrots have an incredibly tough life and they don't spend that much time in a reproductive mode. So
yeah,
it's not good for their bodies to constantly be in a high hormone state. Oh, and I am getting a reminder that in general, we do recommend same-sex pairs. It's a less complicated scenario, but
yeah. They do, to continue on the calm and quiet question, they do like to take afternoon naps. So this is kind of their nap time anyway. So they're being pretty calm, and that's typical for afternoon.
It was cute to see Bing Bong open up his eye there. What's going on?
So I talked a lot about Rio. I should probably cover Bing Bong a little bit more.
Yeah, let's talk about Bing Bong.
He's very afraid of hands right now, which I'm working on. Just very slowly moving my hand towards him, and like if I have them in the shower or anything, if Bing Bong steps up, I try to get if Rio steps up, I try to get Bing Bong to copy, and he's doing a little bit better, but he does have a tendency to flap around the cage, and he's actually damaged some of his feathers and had to go to the vet because of it. So he would probably need a larger cage just so that he has more space to flap when he wants to, and someone who's very patient and can work with him on not being afraid of hands. I don't know what his background was, but sometimes even when I go in to change their food bowls or anything, it can startle him. But he is really curious about me interacting with Bing Bong. That's one of the reasons he's sitting where he is now, is because he was watching Bing Bong on my shoulder. So he does seem interested in being social, just needs patience.
Yep, just like people.
Exactly.
Some of us are more easily startled and more worried by new things. So we do have another audience question here. Do they say anything? And I assume that means in human words, because I'm sure they have plenty of squawks and chirps.
Yes, they have lots of squawks and chirps. Rio sings the Andy Griffith song, which is kind of funny. He's only done it, he really likes yellow things, and he's only done it so far when I have yellow dishwashing gloves on. He really likes those. So he will sing to them. And then Bing Bong is a lot more quiet than Rio, but he has whistled once, and he had a little song that he was singing for the afternoon, and he seems to blow kisses sometimes too. So they do both sing when they feel like it, but it's not a regular thing so far, and that's probably only because I've had them for 3 weeks. I think if they're more settled in, they probably would be a little bit more frequent singers.
Do either of them need any special care in terms of a cage setup or medications or anything?
No, they're both medication free. I like to mist with saline on their noses just because the vet has told me that that's a good thing to do. So I do it anyway just to keep their nose clear of dust and little feather bits. Bing Bong I do think would be better with a larger cage than I have, just for more space. But other than that, they don't need anything really special. Rio needs to stay active to work on
his weight.
Being a little overweight, but he's pretty good at, like, he wants to be wherever I am, so he ends up being active that way anyway.
Got it. So we're almost at the end of our time, but is there anything else you want to tell us about these two before?
I don't think so. I'm looking through my notes. I wrote down a few things. No, they're just
Does one of them get car sick? I feel like.
Yes, Rio has in the past had a kind of a panic attack in the car. I haven't had that issue, but it is something to be aware of. Thank you for bringing that up. They're just a really sweet little pair, and I'm definitely going to miss both of them, but I hope that someone wants to take them into a new home.
Yeah, they're really adorable. So,
they are.
Yeah, hopefully their new person might be watching today.